At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
What's up, ADOS and our allies? You know who it is. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel, bringing you those ADOS hot topics and making the case for reparations and a black agenda in exchange for our vote this election cycle. Follow in, follow in, follow in. I opened with the illustrious Martin Luther King Jr., who in his last 3 years before they assassinated him was demanding reparations. Okay, so that's not what they like to promote about Martin Luther King Jr. That's left out of the history books. Nobody wants to deal with the fact that he was coming to Washington during the People's March to demand reparations. He understood it was not enough that you give us access to the water fountains and the toilets and the restaurants. This was a much bigger fight for Martin Luther King Jr., and that is the ADOS movement, picking up the mantle of where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left off and demanding reparations and a black agenda in exchange for our vote this election cycle. So follow in, follow in, follow in. Start your watch parties. Share, share, share. So glad you are joining me this evening for another rendition of ADOS Hot Topics and the Miseducation of the ADOS in America with 3 Ks book club series. We're reading from Presidential this evening, but I'm going to do a few hot topics before we jump into all of that. So let's jump right in. Wells Fargo Bank claims to the NBC News that they cannot diversify because of the limited pool of black talent to choose from. Well, I guess they did not count on me and some of my colleagues reading that narrative from NBC News in the Facebook. When I saw it, I got hotter than fish grease, family. Yes, because I was one of the talents at Wells Fargo Bank for 6 years. And what's up, DeAndre Blanchard? Thank you for Ted Hayes is the truth. You better know it. Thank you for joining the live. Yes, so I was at Wells Fargo. I was one of the talents at Wells Fargo amidst many ADOS at Wells Fargo Bank. And what they did, if you don't know, is replaced us down here in California. What's up, Tansy? Thank you for joining the live. You're supposed to be on the show. Where you at? Come on in, come on in. Come into the lobby. I'll bring you up after the intro. But what you guys are probably not privileged to, as he sits up here and spins that nonsense that he has to walk back with an apology, there was much ADOS talent at the bank when I joined the bank, okay? And I brought much revenue to the bank, as did my colleagues. But Wells Fargo was as racist as they come. Wells Fargo would take your top producing clients and give them to your white counterparts to close major business. And if you had someone in your circle of influence, that social capital we always talk about, that would feed you business, it would compromise their job. And that's exactly what happened to a colleague that comes to mind most immediately. I will not say her name, but she was instrumental in helping me to be a success at Wells Fargo to the tune of $120,000 a year. What's up, Joelle? Thank you for joining the live. Trey Lincoln, what's up? Thank you for joining the live. Yes, she helped me to amass $120,000 a year. And they got angry with her for helping other ADOS at Wells Fargo be a success because it was their goal to keep us in distress, never making any money. Now, if I was doing $120K a year, can you imagine what my book of business was worth? Probably 5 times that, family. And yet and still what they did, and you can see this on Netflix, because the immigrants got a chance to speak on how they were used to rob and steal and open up fake accounts for the shareholders to turn a profit. And CEO John Stumpf received a $130 million parachute, while 5,300 of those employees were terminated. Okay? Yeah. So folks don't know that part of Wells Fargo. Besides, they owe us reparations. So they replaced ADOS with the immigrants. I remember distinctly building up the Long Beach market. I built that market up from scratch. That's how I ended up living here. I was living mid-Wilshire at the time and started working with Wells Fargo, and they assigned me this territory about 40 minutes from my home. And when I came off that 710 freeway, I thought I was in Nirvana. It was absolutely the most beautiful spectacle I had ever seen. I feel like I'm on a consummate vacation down here. So this was my territory. But the minute I got pregnant and decided to have my child, they decided to replace me from this market. As soon as I went out on maternity leave, they gave the market to a non-producing Mexican woman. Okay. And then when I returned after 6 months, they put me in her distressed community with a bunch of Black and brown clients who didn't have the credit score for the product that I was responsible for selling. There was no sliding scale, family. None. You were expected to produce no matter what. The levels that were set in Beverly Hills was also set for Compton and East LA. So you were working all the time. I remember many a vacation coming home with my laptop like a noose around my neck. Okay. And they decide, because I chose to have a child, and this is what happens with many of the ADOS that were in Wells Fargo. You get married and have a child, they're coming for your job. The stress literally killed another friend of mine, literally killed her. She was married. I think she was around 40, married 5 years, had a son of 3. They came for her job after she had her child. And the stress of that job killed her. Another 24-year-old banker friend of mine was told that she could not continue her education on company time because she couldn't meet the sales goals, which was always moving. You meet one bar, they raise the bar. And they were really great about finding new ways to try and terminate you when you met your goals. They would just make up stuff. Okay. HR was not our friend. HR was the friend of Wells Fargo Bank and protecting the interest of the shareholder. Okay. So all of these kinds of things were going on. My 24-year-old banker friend could not meet her sales goals and was told she could not continue her college education on company time. And 03 Memorial Weekend, she died from a stress-induced aneurysm. She was so angry and so upset because that was her way up and out of the conditions at Wells Fargo Bank. So when they have the unmitigated gall to give John Stump $130 million, and this new CEO has the unmitigated gall to go to NBC News and say we cannot diversify because there's not enough Black talent to pull from. It's by design of institutional systemic racism. Okay? They got rid of us, replaced us with the immigrants who were all too eager to do the oppressor's bidding. Black folks they knew were not going to set up, I think it was 20 million new accounts that the customers did not ask for. We weren't going to participate in that nonsense. So they got immigrants who were thirsty and pressed to be in this country who would do it. And there's a video, a documentary about all of what I'm sharing with you, except the Black hand side of things, because you know, we're not free to speak. I was warned not to speak about it, but I'm going to tell you like it to your ears over here, because it is imperative that you know that Wells Fargo is a liar and you need to divest all your interest and boycott the bank. That's what you need to do. So they replaced us with them to do the bidding for the shareholders to produce a profit. Fired the 5,300 that participated at the behest of upper management. They didn't say it, but they said it. The subtext was, get those numbers any way you damn can. And then gave John Stump a $130 million parachute. That is what happened to all of the Black talent, from retail all the way up through executive level management. Okay, next story. Let's talk about AB 3121. ADOS California has been putting in much work, attending Senate hearings, calling in, and we successfully got practically a unanimous decision by the senators to push for reparations here in California. Well, what does that mean for you? As goes California, as goes the nation. So this is sitting on the governor's desk, AB 3121, and this mofo has the nerve, the governor, Gavin Newsom, to be 7 days from the expiration on this bill, and he has yet to sign it. So this is when everyone gets to be a part of the movement. I will type this into the chat as soon as I can come up for air, but we need the country to make calls to his office to force his hand to sign AB 3121 to study reparations for Californian ADOS. Okay. We need everyone to make the calls and to put pressure on him, akin to the way our ancestors put pressure on Abe Lincoln to emancipate us. About 500 of us fled to Union territory. 500 of our ancestors to force the Union's hand to give us the emancipation we were due. So we need Obama-style numbers to blow up the phones down here in Southern California, all hands on deck, and that's when everyone gets to be a part of this movement. Let me give you the phone number, and if one of you can type it in, that would be great so I can keep going. That would be awesome. Let's see here. Let me find that post. Just a second. Okay, hold on, family. Oh, I constantly am sharing with various people, and I'm trying to find the most recent share so I can give you that number. Here we go. Okay. Okay, it says here, Governor Gavin Newsom is stalling the signing of the California reparations bill. We need you to call and tweet now, and you're going to tweet, sign AB 3121 to make Black Americans, ADOS, in California whole for the sin of aiding and abetting slavery. That's 916. What's up, Danny? Thank you for joining the live. You're a soul train. Thank you for joining the live. It's the home of the truth for ADOS' sake. No white splaining in here. Big up, ADOS Kelly. Thank you so much. Thank you for that shout out. I appreciate you. Your soul train. 916-445-2841. And that's 916-445-2841 at CA Governor for the tweet. And the tweet is sign AB 3121 to make Black Americans, ADOS in parentheses, in California whole for the sin of aiding and abetting slavery. Okay, I will type that momentarily so you guys will have those marching orders when this broadcast concludes. Next, we're going to talk about fixing HR 40. Now, I don't know if you guys know what HR 40 is, but HR 40 is a study that was sitting, thank you so much, your soul train, much appreciated. And it's, if you could type at CA Governor for AB 31, that would be great. And then I'll fill in the rest. Governor, oh, thank you, Joelle. I just appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Yes, at CA Governor, sign AB. Well, it's not, it's only at CA Governor on the Twitter. And you're going to insist he sign AB 3121. If we can flood him with that over the next 7 days, we got 1 week before it expires. And all of our work, thank you, Black Magic. Welcome to the live. All of our efforts down here, ADOS California and the rest of the country who participated in those hearings to get it this far, we quarterbacked it this far, and now Gavin needs to take it over. And he has yet to do so while signing other bills, okay? But ignoring the most important bill. You must understand there is a $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap that we're trying to close. That's hard to do on the federal level. So we're going after the state, and we have been putting in much work so this bill can get on the ballot and actually get this study done so that ADOS can be repaired here in the state of California. And this is cropping up all over the country, and he is stalling. So we need your help. Not right now. You could call during business hours, but you can tweet now, and you can retweet and have everybody in your, in your profile to tweet as well. Share, share, share. Make it go viral. So we need edits on HR 40. We absolutely need edits on the HR 40. I'm moving on, trying to get you guys in and out. And I've got story time with a couple of more diabolical presidents dead that I need to share with you about. So I'm trying to get through the hot topics in the way I see it before I move on to our reading for this evening. I don't know what happened to Tansy. She was supposed to be over here with me. She may be having computer trouble. But anyway, the show must go on. So HR 40 is John Conyers' bill for reparations. Now, this HR 40 sat idle for 30 years. It had been given to Sheila Jackson Lee when he retired, and she did nothing with it. Well, Sheila Jackson Lee is not ADOS. She may be in part, but I know she's part Caribbean. And although ADOS is responsible for reparations becoming mainstream. She chooses to have a seat at the table with us with the edits we have in there. We have edits that absolutely need to be included because the current HR 40 as it stands has no teeth in it, no money. And there will not be any reparations without money. The Jews got money, the Japanese got money, the Indians got money and casinos and the such. So we're not going to be sitting up here accepting more programs where you give with the left hand and take away with the right to give to other immigrants and to the whites. We've already been there, done that with affirmative action, and we're on the bottom, tethered to the bottom. Bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with their lives. So we want the reparations in the trillions over multi-generations to close the egregious racial wealth gap of $100 trillion. That's what white folks share. That's what they stole. Okay, they set themselves up. They gave reparations to the slave owners, not the ADOS. So HR 40 is now being discussed, but it's being discussed in a way that cuts us out and includes all Blacks in this country. Most Blacks came over here after the 55 Immigration Act. We were the ones prior to 1619 all the way through to do the chattel slavery. Our ancestors were the chattel slaves. Forced free labor. We made cotton king to the tune of what would now be $42 trillion is what it would be worth in today's dollars. That is how we made cotton king and tobacco. So anywho, HR 40 is a study. Oh, here's Tansy. Let me bring her up. She made it in. Hold on. Hi, Tansy. Welcome to the live.
Hello.
Thank you. I'm going to finish this piece for HR 40, and then I want you to chime in because I know you can give it a real polish. But anywho, so the HR 40 is intended to make us whole. And right now, it doesn't have the teeth to make us whole. It's lacking money. And it's lacking in specificity of the group that's been injured, which is ADOS. The other groups, we are their reparations. They're over here, and as I've shared on prior shows, they're thriving quite well. They're doing quite well financially. I explained down here in LA, just a snippet, ADOS is 200 liquid, to African immigrants, 60,000 liquid, to Kamala's Asian Indian people, $245,000 liquid. So we need our edits to be included in the HR 40 because if it's not, family, we will maybe get a $20 check after it's all said and done because they don't want to give you money. They want to split it up amongst all Blacks when ADOS were the only chattel slaves in this country. And they want to take a bazillion years to study it. And they want to pay themselves $12 million to study our repair. When it does not take that long and it shouldn't cost that much. It shouldn't cost you anything to do this study. We pay you your salaries through our tax dollars. That should be a debt that is owed to the ADOS to figure it out and start issuing checks. And so we need your help fixing on HR 40. I'm going to take a breath. Turn it over to Tansy, who's got more information, so I can type as she speaks. Tansy, take it away.
Yes. HR 40, as she spoke, as she said earlier, it doesn't have any teeth. It's supposed to be setting in this committee so that they can okay, here I am. It's supposed to be a committee set in place so that we can start figuring out who and what, well, not what, but who gets the money, what programs get funded, so on and so forth. They've created a slush fund. And that's a problem. You know, these certain organizations will start the study to
You're breaking up. We
hear
can hear
me?
you, but it's stalling and buffering. It's breaking up.
Can you?
You're frozen.
Oh, okay. I'll speak louder. Is it still breaking up?
Not right now, but your
Oh,
picture
I don't
is
know
kind
what
of
to do.
freezing.
I don't know what to do now.
Keep going
Is
because
it
it's.
still breaking up?
I can hear you clearly
Am I
now.
still frozen?
You're frozen.
Okay.
Your picture is stalling out, and the
Okay.
sound is
So,
buffering. Keep going. We can hear you.
well, we need to get with our legislators so that we can pressure them to add St. John 40 have teeth, and it gives it a lot of strength, because without it there is very little strength. And I can go over the 6 essential edits that we have for HR 40.
Yes,
uh,
please
I'm
do.
not sure. Yes, I'm not sure if you've gone over all 6 of the essential edits.
No.
Okay, so I'll go over those edits. We want experts is the first thing. Experts should be commissioners, should be selected exclusively by Congress. It shouldn't be what we can see now is someone's friend and a loved one, or they've been doing this for a long time. No, we want experts. We don't want you to be tried out. The thing is, there should no pay for commissioners or their organizations. That will set a bad incentive if you do things like that. Things like nepotism and the just getting in, my friend, quid pro quo kind of situations. And that's not what we want either. The eligibility criteria is another thing that we all talk about, as far as for who actually gets to receive the reparations. The commission should be directed to set as eligible recipients Black American descendants of U.S. slavery. United States is not liable for the slavery that happened all over the world. They are only liable for the slavery that they condoned in this country and the colonies of this country. So if you are in one of the U.S. territories and you were held in slavery there, and you are descendant of U.S. slavery, so that's the people that, not from Jamaica or Belize or somewhere in Africa, and happened to come here in the after 1965. No. So they have to set those criteria. It has to be a lineage standard, and that's all laid out as well. Um, the fourth one is 1776 to the present window claim. The relevant window for American claim for reference date from 1776 to the present, not 1619, the bill currently reads. Since the claim for redress must be made on the U.S. government, and at the time, the beginning date for the claim should be associated for the founding of the republic, not the landing of the enslaved person at Jamestown, Virginia. And so that's in there. The the fifth one is effective racial wealth gap redress solution. What they have in there doesn't do that now. It doesn't close the lineage. This commission edit has one, and there must be a 16-month deadline. Right now it's indefinite. So that means we can be studying it for another 20, 40, and 50, 60 years. And everybody's getting rich because they've set it up to where they can have $200,000 paid to each one of these commissioners a year. So that tells me that if you don't have a timeline, but you've given yourself a salary for a study, then this study can go on for a multitude of years. They've been studying slavery for the longest. They've written countless books already since the end of slavery, since the beginning of slavery. They knew exactly what they were doing. This government did. So there's no need to study. We already know what the output is. We already know what the outcome is. We've had this study already done, you know. So all of these things have to be added to make HR 40 worthwhile. Because if they don't, then it's just gonna it doesn't have any teeth, and it's not going to be a valid document, and it's not going to stand up in court. It also reads like CARICOM reads, and CARICOM doesn't have us in it, but we have CARICOM in it, and that in itself is not right.
Can you explain? Yeah, just because my viewers are not all ADOS movement. Some are just, tune in. Can you please explain about CARICOM and what you just said? Could you unpack it for my audience?
Yes. So CARICOM is the reparations claim that the Caribbean islands and the island nations there have against Great Britain, or the British. I don't know what they calling themselves nowadays, the UK or whatever, but the British, because that was the crown. They enslaved them, not the US. They may have been working together in tangent, but it was two different governments. And this is an international, global enterprise that they had going on. Our fight is with the United States. You have people that are in other countries suing for reparations against the country that enslaved them. They don't add the United States in there, even though some of us may have come from there in the whole mix of the trade. Who knows? What kind of deals was going on, switching off properties and whatnot. But our government is the one who sanctioned it, so it's our government that we sue. And people who are first and second gen, or have a global idea of reparations, and that's fine. You can have a global idea of reparations. We can support each one of these nations that have a claim, but we can't try to shoehorn ourselves into these other nations' claims, because it will mess up their claim, which in turn will hinder us. So it's not. I don't understand why they would want to come and get in our claim to hinder our claim, which means it'll eventually affect them. So that has to be straightened out, and that's why we need experts and not celebrities, not spokesmen, not people that we remember from way back in the day, but we need experts that are doing this work right now, people who have experience with working with reparations claims from other indigenous peoples, from other groups of specific groups of peoples that were making this claim to governments. That's something that we have to have experts.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for unpacking that, Tansy. And I thank Asan Powell, ADOS DMV, for joining the live. Black Magic, Danny Arnold, you're absolutely right. Lineage matters. Asan says contact Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. She gave her phone number. Could you also put her Twitter handle there, Asan? We need a barrage of this, like daily. We need to overtake and break Twitter. The way WAP did. Okay, this is what we need, and this is how everyone throughout the country can be a participant in this movement. I would love for you guys to actually join the movement at a local chapter near you. And if you need information about how to get involved, do not hesitate to reach out to me at friendsofadostv@gmail or ADOSSoCal1619@gmail. I'm happy to plug you into some of the best and the brightest throughout the country that are fighting on your behalf even while you sleep. There are many a times I can text a son from the West Coast to the East Coast, and it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning my time, it'll be 4 o'clock in the morning her time, and she's responding. So know that, we are working tirelessly to deliver the ADOS, and we need all hands on deck for HR 40 and AB 3121, because as goes California, as goes the nation. If we can set a precedent to get a study done here, we can have this domino effect throughout the country. Go ahead, Tansy.
Yes, so I wanted to also add that if they want to get more information about the campaign that ADOS DMV is holding for Fix HR 40, they can get to it at ADOS DMV I'm sorry, ADOS slash dash DMV dot com / fix dash HR dash 40. If Hassan could put that in the chat for me, that's a whole lot to say. I'm so sorry.
Yes, please put
Yeah,
that in the chat.
yeah, please put that in the chat so we can get so that people can see what it is that we're talking about, the 6 fixes that need to be added to the bill.
Absolutely. Okay, the namesake of time, we're kind of speeding through the hot topics, but please, if a son could type the hashtag fix HR40 and what Tansy just shared, that would be very, very helpful.
And also, can I give a shout out? I'm sorry. I want to also shout out to Ice Cube. Thank you for tweeting about the bill in California. I want to thank him for that and for that support, because people out there may not know, and we know a lot of people chime in on his Twitter handle, and maybe they can get involved as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ice Cube. We so appreciate you for that. And I thank you, Tansy, for tweeting him. We've got a few celebrities that are speaking loudly about the ADOS movement in our activities. Jack A. Harry is in support, Lunel, Shaka Khan, Ice Cube. These are people we can also tweet. And if we barrage them, now they know that it's of importance to the ADOS movement, and they have more of a connection to the higher ups. They have more connections politically and can actually help us get this work done. So we're forever grateful to all the ADOS and ally who are assisting us in this effort to close this egregious racial wealth gap. With that said, Tansy, I'm going to transition into the CBC and how they screwed us over with this recent barrage of us expressing an interest to participate in an HR 40 discussion that they in turn got their numbers up for enrollment, and then they turn around and pre-record it and turn off the comments. Could you share and expound on what happened? What's up, Kunta? Thank you for joining the live. Victoria, thank you for joining the live. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, so we had people set to attend the ALC's conference that they have, the annual legislative conference. And so we were going to express our support. Actually, this is actually support for HR 40. We want them to amend it. You know, we're not asking them to throw it away. We are supporting HR 40 and we want to make it better. So we were going to be there to express this. Well, I guess somehow either they figured out that we were going to come, or maybe they just decided that they were going to be preemptive and pre-record and not even follow the schedule that they had. So if you showed up at the prescribed time, that was not the forum that they were actually showing. And then once they actually did show it, it was 2 time slots behind. They put it on YouTube. So people were beginning to write their comments into YouTube. They took all of those comments down, and then they locked up the comments so you couldn't make comments on the HR 40 presentation that they gave. They had a bunch of celebrities there, people that had nothing to do with HR 40. They were not experts. You know, John Legend is not an expert on anything about HR 40. I mean, he may have a interest, and he may even have some nice things to say, but he's not an expert. You know, he's not the person that shouldn't be the go-to person on a forum for the Congress to be speaking with. So
That's like they did with Cardi B.
Exactly.
Biden sitting down with Cardi B instead of the ADOS about the reparations and Black agenda we've been demanding for 2 years.
Right. It's because they know that these people don't have the right answers. I would much rather them sit down with a chapter leader, because at least that's someone plugged in to the ADOS movement, but they did not. And so that upset us. It was a slight. It was a slight and a slap in the face to all of us who support HR 40 and want to see its success. And they don't want to hear our voices. So if they don't want us to come to the things that they invited us to, because all that was for so that they can get our data.
Yep.
They wanted us to get our data. They wanted us to fill in all of these things so they can know what is so they can have their pulse. But they had to do it so so deceivingly. That just speaks volumes to who they are and the ethics that they're using. I mean, they even had a reporter that reported that interviewed Yvette and didn't have Yvette. This man already said whenever he was doing the interview, W. Kamal Bell said he didn't really know a whole lot about reparations and then that he was learning. So why did you have him on the panel? What was the point of you having him on the panel when you actually interviewed at least four people? Well, yeah, at least four people who could have been considered experts in the field. Yvette, they had a lawyer that was there for another international reparations case. You had a brother that was from New Orleans that he spoke to about reparations that was a grassroots person, and it was multiple people that he had on that segment of the video. So you had people that knew stuff. They could have invited them. Yvette could have come. Dr. Darity could have come. These are not hard things to do, but they chose to have the reporter who said he didn't know as much as he could have to be someone that was informing Congress. So that's just a slap in the face. It's a real slap in the face, and it's a great disrespect.
Welcome to the live, York 2700. You're so welcome. He was asking, what does ADOS mean? American Descendants of Slavery, for my newcomers. Thank you, Pretty, for joining the live. Mike Michelson, you know I love you, Black and Strong. Thank you for joining the live. Okay, so that's a good way for us to segue into the vote. Now, people, we are protesting this election cycle. This is a protest strategy. We have yet to really vet the Green Party about how we can align our vision to get reparations through a Green Party, or even to make them our third party, because we are in dire need of a third party. But this is not that election cycle. This election cycle, the Democrats have clearly given us the middle finger on every front. They're refusing to sit down with the people in the ADOS movement who are responsible for getting reparations on the main debate stage. We are the reason, not the CBC, as they set up yesterday and applauded they gave themselves accolades for their academia and accolades for making reparations a mainstream conversation when HR 40 was collecting dust before the ADOS movement social mediaized this revolution. So I don't care what they say about trying to give themselves credit. We are responsible for that. So it's not like Biden and Kamala, who have already said they're not doing anything specifically for our group, who, like I said, are on the bottom. We are the Dalits in this country. We are the untouchables in this country. We are tethered to the bottom. And being poor in this country makes you a target. It makes you George Floyd. It makes you Breonna Taylor, which will be what we're segueing into next before we get to our reading. It makes you Jacob Blake, Elijah McClain. Like, this is who you get to be. You get to be executed with impunity, government-sanctioned executions, and their bullets know no pedigree. But being poor makes you a target because you're in the poor communities. You're in the distressed communities because you've been redlined into them. You've been under and miseducated. You've been denied access to health care, so you get to die disproportionately from the COVID and the like. Anywho, I'm not going over every show I've done. You can look at the archives. So bottom line is, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. Now, we are voting for the Green Party at the top of the ticket to make sure our ballots count. Tansy and I did a show where we discussed in great detail that there are states that are never write in, there are states with restrictions, and there are a handful of states where you can write in. Well, if you write in ADOS and you don't know your Board of Election laws, your whole entire ballot can get thrown out. And we cannot afford a trifecta on either side. The Republicans can't get the top of the ticket in Congress, Neither can the Democrats get the top of the ticket in Congress. The Democrats are anticipating, they're projecting to replace you with the immigrants. That's why both parties are fighting for the immigrant vote. They are giving them the farm while telling you they're not doing anything specifically for your group, our group, whose ancestors built all the wealth that all the rest of them eat from, white folks included. So we're asking to not play around with that ADOS at the top of the ticket. It could mean we lose the Congress because all those votes will be thrown out. We're asking you, if you want to participate in the ADOS movement protest vote, to vote Green Party top of the ticket, not so they can win. They're not going to win. But the goal is to break the back of the establishment and not deliver a trifecta. If the Republicans get the top of the ticket and the Democrats get Congress, let them hug it out for the next 4 years. They can't do any more harm to ADOS. We're already suffering. And I'm with Tansy. Let's socialize the suffering. Let them socialize the suffering and fight amongst each other to try to get anything done. If we lock it down, then we have more time to get our edits pushed through, and we have more time to make the Democrats sing reparations in 2024 when they're running for the seat. If not, we will wash, rinse, and repeat. So I repeat, voting Green Party top of the ticket protects us from suppressing our own votes. Unless you're going to research your Board of Election laws, do not throw away our vote. Do not suppress it. We need Obama-style numbers at those polls. Furthermore, Green Party, although not vetted, they are in fact offering reparations on their platform, and they have an ADOS running for VP Angela Walker. Tansy, could you speak to some of the conversations you've had with Angela and why it's imperative that we cripple and shut down this government, how America must fall as we know it, and ADOS has to be the one to do it?
Yes. So I have had conversations with the VP nominee, Angela Walker, and she's a very nice lady. I mean, she's very nice, very down to earth, you know, and it's not hard to have conversations with her. She goes live on her page very often, and she will conversate with you. Just as simple as that. If you go live with her, she will conversate with you. So I have had conversations with her, and anyone, if they wanted to catch her when she go live, Facebook, she goes live on Instagram, and she also goes live on Twitter. You know, and I had questions. I wanted to know how do they feel about reparations, and you know, reparations platform. How did they come up with that kind of stuff? So she put me in contact with some people that I could speak with on that and get more information. They have a National Black Caucus and those guys are extremely nice. They're happy to see ADOS coming. You know, they're on this big push. And if we are smart, we realize that almost a third of the country did not vote out of protest. More people didn't vote than people voted for either side. And that's something that neither one of the parties are trying to reach. But the Green Party is trying to reach those non-voters. So I think we throw our votes behind the Green Party to protect our vote. If we do leave that top of the ticket blank, we stand a chance of them throwing it out, saying that we spoiled the ballot. For whatever reason, they lie. They just need any excuse to throw it out. So if we put green at the top of the ticket, we down ballot the rest for our local initiatives and our local candidates that we've been supposedly have been speaking with and trying to vet and make sure that they adopt an ADOS-centric platform, you know, then we have an opportunity to give whoever the incoming president is, we're going to put the people that we want in those down ballot slots. You know, we're going to shuffle that deck. I have my opinions, but what I will say is this: we have to protect our vote, protect our vote by voting green at the top of the ticket, down ballot the rest, so we can get our legislators in there that we need. Make sure that you guys vote for Tamara. If you live in Georgia, make sure you support that sister, Tamara Shealy.
Johnson Shealy.
Yes, I keep calling her Tamara. I'm sorry, I'm from the country. We call them Tamara.
No, that's right.
But Tamara, we gotta make sure that she gets in there, because she's our candidate. But I digress. Our vote. Make sure you vote green at the top of the ticket. They have ADOS. They have reparations in their platform. So if we're gonna just throw our votes out, then we may as well throw it out on something that we support. And we support reparations. That reparations plan, people have said, oh, but I don't like the language. Guess what? It's language that can be fixed. It's language that we can work on. Aren't we doing that for HR 40? These people have a reparations plan. The Republicans and the Democrats don't even have one. Not one at all. So we don't have anything to even work with them, but we have something to work with the Green Party. They will be happy to sit down with us and talk to us. If you live in a state or a city that has Green Party candidates, I implore you, go talk to them, see what they have to say. Look them up, see what their platform says. You got 45 days, and if they want their vote, they'll do the work. So we can't just be so stuck and so stubborn to where we just, I'm not going to ask anybody or whatever. You have other people out there. Look into them. Be politically astute. Do the work. Because if you don't, I can guarantee you that Billy Bob and the Boule are going to go out there and do the work for you. And as we can see with HR 40, they are doing just that. So we have to be on our P's and Q's. We have to be politically educated enough to know that if I don't go and reach out to these candidates here at my local level, you may not be able to get to Biden or Harris or whomever, but you can get to your local legislature. You can get to your city councilman and so on, and talk to them and ask them what their platform is. A lot of those people still work regular jobs. So they go be in their office. They're not around the country campaigning like some of these big ticket guys are. So don't forget, work them, go to them, and let them know that you are a registered voter. You are their constituent, and we want to know what you are going to do about X. So protect our vote. Vote green at the top of the ticket, because Biden, the GOP, and the DNC don't care nothing about us.
Absolutely. And to your point, when people keep telling me we want them to know that the ADOS were the ones who protested, we want to write in ADOS at the top. Well, if you write it at the top and it gets thrown out, they'll never know. Second, since the Green Party is offering reparations, don't you think that if an overwhelming number of Black folks are missing off their voter rolls, but included in the voter rolls for the Green Party, don't you think it's reasonable to deduce that it was ADOS who voted green because reparations was on their platform? They will already know that it was ADOS. Okay, because they will see their numbers down in the Black category. They won't see the 90%, like whomever showed up, the 2/3 that showed up, that percentage of Blacks that showed up and gave 90% of their votes to Hillary. They won't see those numbers for Biden and Kamala. So it's reasonable to deduce that that's where we are, because the second part too is we will get the Green Party to 5% so that they can be on the ballot throughout the entire country. Tansy, I want you to speak a little bit on these restricted states and actually how leaving it blank may get the ballot thrown out.
Yes. As far as
wait, we have in the box, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Tamara Johnson Shealy, running for Georgia U.S. Senate, family. She is in the chat, and it is on us to get her that Senate seat in Georgia. We need all hands on deck. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live, Tamara. It's an honor to have you over here and a privilege. And I hope that you get another window. This sister is so cold to the bone. She has used the funds she has raised to rent an RV to go and talk to rural Georgia for that vote. Show your love in the chat, family. She is in the chat, and she is a cold piece of work. She is not stopping at anything. She's not allowing the fact that the other Democrats that are running on the ticket have the establishment behind them and the millions. She's going to pull a Cori Bush down in the GA. Trust and believe me when I tell you, Cori Bush didn't have the money either. And she is a real contender, okay? So please, she ain't letting none of it stop her. She's got ADOS for ADOS on her mind. She has linear, singular vision when it comes to bringing reparations and a Black agenda to the Congress. And we need 200 more like her to replace the ones who are in there playing about it, who want to sit up here on HR 40 and build the system for a bazillion years while they line their pockets and we never see the light of reparations. She is in the chat, and everyone needs to go to tamaraforgeorgia.com, donate, support, volunteer, and spread the word, and tweet to give her the vote, and Facebook to give the vote, and Graham to give her the vote. She is ADOS for ADOS, family. So please support, support, support. Tansy, did you have anything else to add to that rant about Tamara?
No, but we love you, Tamara. I think that was enough said.
Enough said. I'm going to drop the mic on that one. Okay, but anywho, I was talking about the Green Party. It is clear that the Democrats are giving us their butt to kiss, but we need to work with them in a Congress, which is why we need all the ballots to count. We need to work with them in Congress because 42% or more since COVID of ADOS rely on government by design of institutional systemic racism. So we need the votes to count. And if you're not going to read your Board of Election laws thoroughly, which many ADOS will not, I need for you guys to help the Green Party to get to 5% so they can be on all the ballots and they can be a real contender the next election cycle. Let's help them do that because they are for reparations. And once we achieve that, don't you think we'll have a seat at the table to give them those edits? Anywho, Tansy, I wanted you to speak on leaving it blank and how that too could get it thrown out. Could you talk about that real quick before I jump to Brianna?
Yes. So if you leave that the top of the ticket, it's not illegal to do so. Right now, hypersensitive environment when it comes to action. So what we are afraid of, and what many people all around the country are afraid of, is the cheating that's going to go on. They're going to use any and every excuse to cheat. So to stop that, if you go green at the top of the ticket, it won't give them to not count your ballot. Not everybody is going to be able to write anything in because we have the digital polling stations, but the ones that we actually can write things in, those are the ones that may run risk of physically being missed, because there's going to be multiple types of pollings going on. The digital kind, the kind that you slide it in, and it's going to be all kinds of stuff. So what you want to make sure that you do, protect you by going green, voting at the top of the ticket, so don't throw it out. No, the Green Party is not going to win by some fluke of the imagination. If they get enough write-ins, then okay, then they win. Then even better, because then we already know we got our people in there, and that reparations is going to be on the table. We don't even have to fight about it. So, but right now, it doesn't look like they're going to win because of all the write-ins, and they've also been taken off of roles in some states. So this is a protective measure. And if we give them that 5%, we get involved with the Green Party so we can help them fix whatever the things is that needs to be fixed, because we aren't there. That's why they're not fixed. Just like Yvette said, Operation Takeover. You have to be there in order to fix these legislations.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you for joining the live. Oh, yes, I'm loving it. I don't know why you're breaking up, Tansy. I might have to put you on the phone. I might.
Okay.
It was good, and then it wasn't. I don't understand why we can't keep your voice clear. It's driving me crazy. Okay, let's try to get through Brianna, because I got to do story time, and we're at an hour. Okay, family.
All
now,
right,
you know I have been lit over Brianna. This Daniel Cameron is a Republican in Kentucky who did not bring any charges against the officers for executing Brianna in her own home. I think Tansy and I was talking earlier, so I'm not going to take her talking point, but I want her to touch on how she theorized how convenient it was for all the bullets to hit Brianna and not her boyfriend. Anywho, first of all, when you hear the 911 call, how in the world are you going to charge the officer for shooting through the walls of the neighbors? Because I don't know how many rounds they shot up specifically. I think it was about 32 shots or something. They just sprayed her apartment, her home, her house, and riddled her with 8 bullets, I think, hit her body. The bottom line is for the 6. Okay, thank you for the correction. The bottom line is this for me. These are my comments, and I'll let Tansy take it, and we'll get into the reading and pray you out. The bottom line is this for me. I heard this man's distress call. Now, and he said on that 911 call, he didn't know who it was. And so he shot because he did not know who it was. Now, the officers had fled after they killed Brianna. When he called the 911, they did all that damage and left. That's why he was like, I'm not sure who shot in our home. I shot back, but I don't know who it is. They were banging on the door, and then they came through the door and started shooting. So he did not even know it was them. And yet they're going to sit up here and say that they cannot prosecute these executioners because one lone person from some far off land appears, and contrary to the rest of the neighbors who were privy to all the malarkey, he tells them that he heard the officers announce that they were at the door before the shots were fired. So whoever this mysterious person is probably a made-up story to give cover to these cops, because what they're trying to act as if they operated in self-defense. And so basically, you literally can be assassinated in your own home with impunity is what this outcome has been. And they put that $12 million at the top and settled the civil suit before to try to buffer the blow that was coming. We should have known. Vicki Lewis, welcome to the live. ADOS Zanira, thank you for joining the live. We should have known that this was going to happen when that money came before the charges. We should have known, but we somehow set ourselves up to believe, I did, let me speak for myself, that if enough momentum was behind Black Lives Matter, Breonna Taylor, they've been turning up in Kentucky, that somehow these officers were going to be charged with her execution. Like I said, if you go back and listen to the 911, he was oblivious as to who had done it because they left the scene. I don't know where they went. Listen to the 911. He clearly didn't know, and the neighbors supported him when they said they did not hear anyone say it's the officers to open the door. Now, they may have knocked forcibly at the door, but what are you going to do? Isn't there a certain law out there, I can't think of the name of it, where you are allowed to protect yourself in your own home? Do you know that
It's
law?
called a castle. It's the castle doctrine. It's the same doctrine and the law that they use to protect that white officer who went and bought from Johns's house, wrong apartment, and then shot the man when he was in his own apartment. You know, it's the castle doctrine. They said that she had to shoot him because she thought it was her house, even though it wasn't her house. When she walked in, none of it looked the same. So and it wasn't even on the same floor. So they used that to try and protect her, but they couldn't use it to try to protect the person who actually was in their own house and got killed. I mean, castle doctrine only for Dallas?
No, it's only for, white folks.
Apparently.
There was another case where the castle doctrine that you raised to me when we spoke earlier. The castle doctrine worked for they couldn't use it in Botham John. And there was another case. Oh my God, I can't recall. I thought there were two cases.
It was another case where the girl was in there playing video games with her nephew, and someone called. Yeah, and they shot her through the window.
Yeah, they saw her light on. And they saw her, the neighbors called to get her protection because they saw her light on and her door was ajar at midnight. The officers really came over there, did not announce themselves. Now, she didn't shoot anybody. She was shot through her window because apparently the glow of the TV and the door was open, probably to get some air. I don't know, but it wasn't grounds to execute her in her own home. And now Breonna Taylor. And
that's the third one.
The third one. So they're setting the stage to let these race soldiers literally come to your home, not announce themselves, and kill you and get away with murder. They can execute you in your own home. Furthermore, I'll let you take it in a second. Daniel Cameron is Mitch McConnell's protege. Now, he's married to a white woman, but rumor had it that she's in fact Mitch McConnell's niece. I can't find any proof of that. I found that he is Mitch McConnell's protege. You see why all skin folk ain't kinfolk, family? You understand that there are a bunch of black coon, self-hating white supremacists in our government? Okay? Anywho, running our cities, running our states. So you can't be fooled by the fact that he was the prosecutor in that case because he literally brought no charges and he is on Trump's short list for the Supreme Court to replace Ginsburg.
Are you serious?
Absolutely serious. It's all throughout the news. It is all throughout the news. I posted it all up and down my feed. So do you see the correlation between Trump and Mitch and how this man is about to be promoted for protecting the race soldiers to the highest court in the land so they can continue to hang us in the laws? Because this is where the issues lie. It is the law that gives them qualified immunity. And Barack Obama signed the Blue Alert Law. They've got all the protections while he sang Amazing Grace for the North Carolina 9 that were executed by Dylann Roof. You guys need to join me in my book club reads of Global Pan-Africanism. Get your passports ready. And we're going to talk about white nationalism and black interest in this country, because it is about to be on and cracking when you see them let these cops off time after time after time. You need to be looking to Africa. Okay, that's my advice to you. I will type in the books I need you guys to buy, and I will roll out those dates on tomorrow's show. I was supposed to be here yesterday, but I was all in my feelings about so much, I just couldn't do the show. So I came on today. I'll be on again tomorrow with 2 more presidents. Tansy, I want you to speak to your observations and what you think before I go into my readings, which are very short tonight, family. They're probably about 7 minutes apiece, but I must do them because we must push through. Go ahead, my love.
Yes. So I this whole Breonna Taylor thing is just too much. Um it it's extremely alarming with the presence of the secret police that are now roaming around the country, that we don't have any idea of who they work with, who they work for, what agency, what their names are.
That was I thought it was Tatiana Jefferson. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ados Zanera. Tatiana Jefferson is who that was. Thank you for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. But yeah, these secret police that now have been given, the go ahead to round up people just pulling up on folks with black bands and all of this here other stuff. This is some McCarthyism, 1984 crazy conspiracy theory type stuff. And as long as it's going against the people that his supporters don't like, then they're okay with it. It's going to be a different story when the tables get turned, and the tables will turn. They will.
I'm sorry, Tatiana. Excuse me, Tatiana Jefferson. Thank you so much, ADOS Sanira. Go ahead.
Yeah. The tables will turn. I mean, I don't really know what to say about the Breonna Taylor case, simply because it's one so egregious that they charge the person with shooting, endangering the life of the people that's next door, and not the endangering the life of the person that they actually bust in their house and executed there. And so and with the lawsuit that came with it, it's just a whole lot of stuff. I don't really know enough to speak on it as far as for legally. I know what I feel, and I feel that it ain't right, and it makes me scared, because what if one of them come busting through my door and I'm asleep? It's in the middle of the night, and cops come busting in your door, and everybody's just screaming. You don't know what's being said, because everything happens in a split second. And you try to protect yourself, and either you shoot or you hit somebody, or shoot. Some of us got their houses booby trapped. Some of us lived in was ex-police officers and military and things of that nature, and we have PTSD. So you come run up on the wrong person's house, and you might run up on something that you don't really want to run up on. And then this person is going to get prosecuted for harming a police officer. Well, you didn't let me know you was a cop. I didn't know. And I can't protect myself, so I don't have there's no self-defense. You can't stand your ground. You don't have the castle doctrine, but you can let a little boy from across the state line with an illegal weapon, because he's underage, go and protect someone else's property up and down the street, even though the property is behind him. He all up and down the street shooting and killing people. He's okay. But a woman sleep in her bed, and they thought that she was in there by herself. They didn't know her boyfriend was in there. So they come busting in there, guns blazing and battering ram. Why did you have all of that? You knew that she was in there you thought she was in there by herself, and she wasn't a threat. But you came in there, guns are blazing. Why? Something is not right about any of that. And I didn't know that he was connected to Donald Trump the way he is, but just like Yvette has told us, that proximity to power is just as powerful to some people as power itself. So that was the whole fight with the feminists. They had a little problem with their proximity to power. And I think this is what he has. What is it called whenever Master give you your freedom? It starts with an M. Yes. Manumissions. And that's exactly how they used to get it back in the day. If you go tell on the ones that's trying to revolt or rise up or not be slaves no more, you get your next step to
You
freedom.
get your butter biscuits.
Yes, you get your butter biscuits. That's right.
Naturally,
So you
Malika,
think I
thank you
is.
for joining the live. Naturally, Malika, thank you for joining the live. Kunta, thank you for joining the live. Okay, that's I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tansy. Was that your?
Yeah.
Were you finished with that segment? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Plus, let me help you with something, family. Their bullets know no pedigree. Okay, their bullets know no pedigree. All right. So please know that, and please protect yourself. Okay, because there is clearly a race war going on in this country, and they are trying to extinct us in a number of ways. I think we mentioned on one of the shows that, and this is old data, 20 million Black babies have been aborted. Oh, that was Ginsburg, the show I did on Ginsburg, who was for abortion for Blacks, okay, out of her own mouth. Abortion helps us to get rid of the folks we don't want here, the untouchables, the undesirables. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what she said about abortion and why she supported it. She was a eugenist. Anyway, so through abortion, 20 million of us since 73, 20 million Black babies since 73. I don't have the current data on that, but they rob us of resources and then plant abortion clinics in our community. You see the correlation. They rob us of reasonable health care. They rob us of the salaries to be able to afford reasonable health care. And then we die disproportionate from COVID. And then we have the disproportionate number of COVID cases. They plant drugs and guns in our communities and then lock us up for free slave labor. 13th Amendment. And then use it as an excuse to patrol our neighborhoods to execute us for being ADOS. So they cripple us and then blame us. And
Well,
what's up, Christy? Thank you for joining the live. Go ahead.
Black people have been a natural resource for America from the inception of this land. We were brought over here to be a commodity. And at every stage of our lives, whether it be within the embryo, all the way down to when we are old and decrepit and can't really move anymore, we have been used and to fuel different industries. Because look at from the inception of life, they can make money off of you through the abortion clinics. And then all through your life, they either trying to set you up so you can go to jail and be a slave. They try to keep you broke so you can work these menial jobs and be a servant for the rest of your life. And, so you can't have no good education, so you can't class up. And when you get old, they done rigged the doggone, got your health care so bad that they kill you off all in big spells. So now they got the funeral home industry is just getting a payday with the insurances. So through every phase of your life, Black people have been a commodity and a natural resource for this country to be either used as currency, labor, or some sort of a profit. We have to be smarter than that. And we have to realize that we keep looking at them and saying, oh, we're all equal. Yeah, we may be all equal as far as we're all born as humans, but we were not brought here to enjoy the American dream. We were brought here so that we can provide them with their American dream.
Absolutely.
A nightmare is a dream too. And that's the part that we live.
In other words, family, we're still sharecropping since we were emancipated. In other words, family, as we've been reading in Prejudential, which is a great segue, Tansy, you're free to stay on and comment or drop and enjoy your evening. You let me know which, but we're still sharecropping. We're still mired in debt and having to work for now suppressed wages because capitalism needs a bottom caste. Mm-hmm. Capitalism and socialism are oxymorons. They are juxtaposed one against the other. And so there is no justice or peace for ADOS because they decided we were going to be the bottom because they need a bottom. So they weaponized us to suppress white folks' wages. And we're going to go through that at the top of the year. In the course of 4 months, we will be dissecting this every 100 or so pages. The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. In this book, it talks about our migration from the South to the North, the West, Midwest, and the East. And it talks about how they weaponized us against white folks to suppress their wages. And now they're doing it to us with the immigrants. Our wages are being suppressed, or they're replacing us in the job place. We can't even, when you show up as ADOS, I don't care if you know Spanish down here. If you don't have the complexion for the protection, you're not getting that job because you don't have any social capital at the table. And when you do, they are hired to do the white man's bidding and to keep you out. And so this is why we have to protest vote. We have got to gridlock government. All we have is the vote. That's all we have to weaponize at this stage of our experience in America. And so I will share with you about those breaking news. They just shot 2 police officers in Kentucky. Thank you, Vicki. It's going down.
Yeah. And they better be careful because there might not even be black people doing that. It was a lot of anarchists out there holding up their little anarchist signs. They sent by the Republicans. They sent by the GOP to go out there and be disruptors. That's why they know who to blame. They call them disruptors because they know they sent them.
Well, but we'll be blamed, right? Like
we'll be blamed. We'll get the heat for that. I can almost guarantee you may be able to count the number of black people on both of your hands if you went on CNN right now. And that's probably including Don Lemon that's on the TV screen. The number of black people that you can count out there doing that protesting right now, I haven't even looked because I've been on view, but I can almost guarantee you that it's a majority of white young kids out there or young people out there, not black. You might see sprinkled here and there, but they're going to be majority white. But we'll catch all the heat for it.
Yep. And they'll come down harder on us.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get to tonight's reading. We're reading from Prejudential. This will be another maybe 15 minutes, family, if you can hang in there. This is very important for you to understand Black America and the presidents. This is by Margaret Kimberly. And I just need you to understand that as they were emancipating us, they were trying to expatriate us and colonize us in the Caribbean and in Africa. Okay, so I want you to understand the framework of what was happening during these upcoming presidents that I'm going to read you. Frederick Douglass leads a delegation petitioning for a federal law ensuring the vote for African Americans, which Andrew Johnson rejects. Louisiana, that was 1866. 1868, Louisiana votes to send John Menard, a black man, to Congress, but he is barred from taking his seat by white members of Congress. 1870, the 15th Amendment to the Constitution allows black men to vote. I repeat, 1870, the 15th Amendment to the Constitution allows black men to vote. Okay, so let's get into Rutherford B. Hayes. He's our dead president, one of 2 dead presidents, okay? Oh, 1 second. Thank you, Tansy. 1877 to 1881. Rutherford B. Hayes has gone down in history as Ruther Fraud because of the scandalous way in which he attained the presidency. The Republican Hayes lost the popular vote to Democrat Samuel Tilden in 1876. Southern Democrats questioned the eligibility of black voters in Florida, South Carolina, and Louisiana as part of an ultimately successful plan to undermine Reconstruction. A 15-member commission of senators, congressmen, and Supreme Court justices finally ruled in Hayes' favor, but not without getting a promise to end once and for all the faltering federal commitment to Reconstruction. The Republican Party was considered the port, while all else was the storm. But in the 1876 election, both parties were equally bad. Sounds familiar, right? White Southerners were relentless in their quest to nullify the limited Black political power that had emerged after the Civil War. And the Republican Party wanted to move away from working to defend the rights of the newly freed people. Reconstruction, let me stop. Abe Lincoln was Republican. So that's why the Republican Party wanted to move away from working to defend the rights of the newly freed people, because he never was for our emancipation in the first place. He was fighting for the Union, and it was our ancestors who put pressure on Abe Lincoln to emancipate us. This was not something he did out of the kindness of his heart. As he signed for our emancipation, he was trying to colonize us and expatriate us over to Haiti. Know that about Abe Lincoln. So here you have where they're admitting they're done with helping us, okay? Reconstruction hung by a thread when the wheeling and dealing began to determine the winner of the 1876 presidential election. Hayes's victory was not made official until March 2nd, 1877, just 2 days before the inauguration was to take place. On April 20, 1877, Hayes ordered the reposting of the last remnants of federal troops who were stationed in South Carolina and Louisiana. Reconstruction had already been killed by a democratically controlled Congress, which would not appropriate funds to uphold the enforcement acts designed to ensure Black enfranchisement. In any case, the departure of the last federal troops effectively ended the last voting rights protections. So our brothers got it in 1870. They pulled out the troops and left us to our own devices at the hands of the KKK and the white oppressors and the white masters, which is why we were being lynched in the whole 9 yards. They weren't able to even exercise their vote like that. Hayes had a career as a Union Army officer and claimed to care for the, quote, poor colored people of the South, close quote. But he betrayed those values because of ambition and political expediency. The press and most politicians had readily accepted the canard that Reconstruction was a failure that allowed corrupt and incompetent Black men to hold office. The press, the media, has always been anti-ADOS. Way back in the gap, the press and most of the politicians had readily accepted the canard that Reconstruction was a failure that allowed corrupt and incompetent Black men to hold office. Oh my God. Tales of Northern carpetbaggers and their Southern scalawag allies were accepted as true. A bloody war and 12 years of a guerrilla campaign had worn down what little resolve existed among white Northerners. So great was the bitterness and fear that many Southern Blacks spoke openly of leaving the Republican Party, but political leaders spoke out against confronting Hayes. Sounds familiar. John Langston, president of Howard University, declared that he had, quote, received from Hayes' own lips the most positive assurances that it was the purpose of his administration to secure by any and every legitimate means within its power and control our protection, promotion, and recognition. Don't we still have the bootlicks giving cover to Biden, to Kamala? Still giving cover to this day. This is why you have to know your history or you're bound to repeat it. The Hayes administration was just the latest disaster to befall Black people since the start of the Civil War. James Clyburn comes to mind. How they co-opted the entire election after Bernie Sanders won 3 states. Obama made the call. James Clyburn was down there in South Carolina. You can see how distressed his communities are, his Black communities are. Pushing them to vote for Biden. Not that it took much of a push. Most ADOS are not politically educated. So they vote for Biden. Obama makes the call, tells the others that are in the middle of the road to fall on their sword, and get behind Biden. So you got the likes of James Clyburn and the rest giving him cover as our people are in the fight of their lives to prevent becoming the permanent underclass in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Lincoln had been forced to fight for emancipation every time an enslaved person escaped to Union lines. Our ancestors freed us. Lincoln had been forced to fight for emancipation every time an enslaved person escaped to Union lines. ADOS, fighting for the reparations as our ancestors fought for our emancipation. Andrew Johnson had wanted no part of Reconstruction and was only prevented from undoing the 14th and 15th Amendments by the continued commitment of white Republican Northerners. Grant was supposed to be the president who would realize justice and equality for the newly freed people, but he had failed to fight effectively against those promoting the return of legalized white supremacy. By the time Hayes ran for president, the die was cast against Black people. They were literally outnumbered and outgunned. The hope and joy they had felt at emancipation proved to be illusory. The constant effort to find a friend between the two dominant political parties began its ignominious tradition, which continues into the present day. Having made his deal with the devil to gain the presidency, Hayes did little while in office except veto legislation passed by the Democratic majority in Congress. In the winter of 1878 to 1879, the persistent violence exacted against Black people in the former Confederate states created a great exodus to Kansas. Called the Exodusters, as many as 40,000 people fled their homes in search of protection from mob rule. This process did nothing to inspire Hayes to action. Instead, he wrote in his diary on May 25th, 1879, and I quote, The exodus of colored people from the South still attracts attention. The effect is altogether favorable. The tendency will be to force the better class of Southern people to suppress the violence of the ruffian class and to protect the colored people in their rights. Let the immigrants be scattered throughout the Northwest. Let them be encouraged to get homes and settled employment. He wanted us out of the South. Hayes wrote this nonsense in his diary, so it is safe to assume that he really believed it. Or perhaps it was wishful thinking meant to exculpate his guilt at having thrown the last bit of justice out the window to secure his political fortunes. In any case, he lived up to the nickname Ruther Fraud and began a long line of presidential betrayal. James A. Garfield, 1881, had served as president for only 4 months when an assassin shot him in July 1881. He came to the office after a long history of public service as an Ohio state legislator, a member of Congress, a Union Army brigadier general in the Civil War, and a U.S. senator. In all of these roles, he impacted the lives of Black people. And so we can assess him and his beliefs through them, his limited time in the Oval Office notwithstanding. Hi, Blackboard. Thank you for joining the live. And whomever else has joined the live, thank you. The usual defense of racism is to excuse an individual by claiming that he was a, quote, man of his time. This description certainly fits Garfield. As a young man, he wrote, quote, the simple relation of master and slave was not unchristian, close quote. He referred to himself as being anti-slavery but abjured abolition, saying it was representative of an overheated and brainless faction. The same man who supported arming Blacks in the war as soldiers said, quote, but it is not in my heart to lay a feather's weight in the way of our Black Americans if they choose to strike for what was always their own, close quote. Those words meant little when he had the wherewithal to protect Black citizenship rights. He became an advocate for states' rights at the expense of Black Southerners' rights to vote and to live without fear of white terrorism. These inconsistencies define Garfield as, quote, a man of his times, close quote. His attitudes were not uncommon for a white Northerner, first being anti-slavery, then fighting for the Union and perhaps expressing opposition to slavery, but ultimately putting white people first. The same man who spoke up for the rights of Black soldiers felt repugnance at the idea of their having voting rights. He expressed the desire to send them all away, as he never, quote, learned to love them, close quote. Garfield was similar to Lincoln in that he never gave up his dream of an America without Black people. He may not have served as president for very long, but he typified the office's relationship with Black America. Use up the shoes and throw them away. Use them to build all of your wealth, to give away all the land to white European immigrants, to line your pockets, to create a pathway to wealth for your children. I tell you guys that under Obama's tenure, 1 million white millionaires were created while we lost 43% of our wealth. And if COVID don't take us out, we'll lose the balance of our wealth during this pandemic. Almost done, family. And then I'll see in the comments and pray us out. Every presidential election in the post-Civil War era produced uncertainty and angst over which candidate would be better for Black people. Frederick Douglass said, quote, we must have Garfield, close quote, only to find himself out of a job when the man he endorsed appointed someone else to his position as Marshal of the District of Columbia. Douglass didn't go quietly. He asserted, quote, whatever may be the ostensible reasons given for it, the real ground of opposition to me is that I am a colored man and that my sympathies are with my recently enslaved people, close quote. The ensuing controversy forced Garfield to appoint Douglass to the position of Recorder of Deeds. Douglass was to be disappointed again and again. The post-emancipation period was an endless loop of betrayals as Douglass and other Black leaders strove to keep their worst enemies at bay. But Democrats and Republicans were far more concerned about competing to be seen as the white people's party than they were about cultivating support among Blacks. Is this not the current election? Is this not what currently is happening? They're fighting, the Democrats are fighting for the Republican vote and the immigrants. Democrats and Republicans were far more concerned about competing to be seen as the white people's party than they were about cultivating support among the Blacks. No tangibles, hence the protest vote. Garfield's actions during his brief tenure typified those of his successors. Tomorrow we'll be going over, after the ADOS Hot Topics, Chester B. Arthur and Grover Cleveland. Two more relatively short, brief chapters. This is why, family, doing this lesser of two evil two-step shuffle to our peril has got to stop this election cycle. Hispanics are at 56 million. Hispanic and Latinos are 56 million to our 35 million. If the Democrats get a trifecta, meaning the top of the ticket in Congress, they're opening these borders to 11 million more Hispanics to have a pathway to citizenship before making you American. They've already told you they don't intend to do anything specifically for our group, which is suffering the most in the country our ancestors built with their lives. So with that said, family, let me go to the comments real quick and see what you guys are up to. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. This is a longer show than intended, but we had so many hot topics to discuss, and I'm glad you hung in there. Okay, I'm just going to read the relevant ones. A son says they've created a slush fund for themselves. That's why edit number 2 and 6 are important. Yes, this is HR 40 that a son is talking about. This is a slush fund. They want to be able to study our repair into perpetuity while our tax dollars pay them for that. So we need all hands on deck to fix HR 40. We need those tweets, and we need those phone calls. So please look through the comments. Asan and the rest, Joelle and Black Magic, I think, were actually typing for me as I was trying to push through the show. Okay, they put the edits in there. Thank you guys so much for being my keyboard warriors. We want Dr. Sandy Darity and Dr. Kirsten Mullen, yes, on the commission to study the reparations. We absolutely do, and we need them. They are our lead economists in the movement, and they've computed about 17 trillion over multi-generations for ADOS repair. These are the types that we need on the commission, not Narc and in Cobra and Sheila Jackson Lee. So keep the pressure on, family. Okay, I shared Governor Gavin Newsom is stalling the signing of the California reparations bill. I gave you what to call and tweet. Sign AB 3121 to make Native Black Americans, ADOS, in California whole for the sin of aiding and abetting. Oh, it cut off. Aiding and abetting slavery is what that should say. And like I mentioned prior, as goes California, as goes the nation. Okay, so I guess it spilled over. Slavery. I gave you the telephone number and the tweet there. So please, just keep bombarding him. We have 7 days to get this done, or all of our efforts would be for naught, okay? Scrolling down. The edits that Asan and the others typed, Black Magic I see is typed, those are edits from Dr. William Sandy Darity, lead economist. He's been on all the shows. Duke professor, economics, and he has been studying this, and he has a book out that we're going to be going over through the book club series. I'll type all of that post show so I can get you guys out of here. I wish they would try to push this weak legislation, Danny Arnold said. Absolutely. Didn't Wells Fargo commit billions to Hispanic development? Debonair 1, thank you for joining the live. I do believe so. Absolutely. You see, they come over here and suppress our jobs, suppress our salaries, and get set-asides to do better and to climb over ADOS under affirmative action, which is why we don't want any more of your entitlements that you can give with the left and give away with the right. We want that check. I'll buy my home, thank you. I'll educate my daughter, thank you. I'll make my investments and grow my business. I don't need your loans, thank you. I don't need your high interest rates. I can do it for my reparations, okay? And that's why we fight. Okay, Asan put contact Representative Sheila Jackson Lee and gave her phone number and demand those edits. She also has a Twitter. I don't have time to look it up, but you can find it if you go over to the Twitter, and you can tweet the same about Fix HR 40 with Dr. William Sandy Darity edits. Okay. CARICOM promotes and supports a unified Caribbean community that is inclusive, resilient, competitive, sharing in economic, social, and cultural prosperity. Thank you, Black Magic, but they have no money. They have no money tied to CARICOM. And that's what they're trying to do with our reparations, and why it's imperative that we force these edits, okay, so that this study can have a number attached to it. Or our reparations is just going to be as empty as CARICOM, which is another reason why they're fighting to get themselves attached. Narcan and Cobra want to get Caribbeans attached to our repair because theirs has no money attached. Danny says lineage matters. Absolutely. A son shared Steve Cohen to call him and demand the edits. Victoria says, good job, Tansy. Yes, she did a wonderful job. I love having her on the show to make the case for reparations in a Democratic down ballot strategy. Thank you again, Tansy. A son wrote Representative Gerald Natler's number. Demand for the edits. These are all the people you guys are going to call and tweet to demand for the Dr. William Sandy Darity's edits. Sheila.jackson.lee@mail.house.gov. There's her email. Her Twitter, thank you, Black Magic. All of it's there. My family's been busy. Kunta, hey sis, keep up the good work. Thank you. Boy, it takes a village. I'm so grateful to each of you. Victoria, yes, more mouthpieces are needed. We need all hands on deck, family. This is not just the ADOS movements repair. This is the ADOS, the lineage reparations. So we need all hands on deck in these efforts. So tons of emails and phone numbers. Just look through the notes. CBC was wrong for what they did. That was a disgusting, vile. Yes, it was discussing what they did to us. They used ADOS to get their registration numbers up while denying us a voice at the HR 40 discussion, which, as we mentioned prior, happened very late and had no teeth in the discussion, and we could not lend our voice to the conversation. A son put about more information to the ADOS DMV, fix HR 40. Check that out. The Kunta says their goal was to confuse us. That's why they aren't inviting us. Absolutely. They don't want to deliver. They don't want to deliver. They want to pretend and play at our reparations. They're not really about delivering it. They don't want that to happen. They don't want us to be whole in this country, because then we can sustain ourselves and be self-sufficient, and someone else has to be on the bottom. So that's why we don't get much support from immigrant allies nor whites, because they have to share in the wealth that was stolen. Mike, Universal Mike, they did it last year in Washington. Thank you, Pretty Muslima, for joining the live. Okay, let's go on down. We're almost there, family. At A Nirvana 2. Okay, thank you. You're welcome, York. Twitter. Okay, I'm just scrolling. By voting Green Party, do you expect to win either way? Yeah, I expect to win, because if we can shut down government for the next 4 years, that will be a success for the ADOS movement to buy more time to ensure that the Democrats are on reparations in 2024. And if not, we'll continue to socialize our suffering. If the Democrats or the Republicans get a trifecta, top a ticket in Congress is what that means. A trifecta, ADOS will be the only one suffering as business per usual in this country since we were dragged over here. Danny Arnold says, yes, cripple the Democrats, period. That's it. If we cripple them, we will be victorious. Republican top, Democratic Congress, they can't continue to harm ADOS. We can choke and gridlock that the hemorrhaging on the ADOS community and try to get some real change. If we continue to do the same thing expecting a different result, that's insane. We've got to stop this lesser to evil nonsense. Just like the Civil War, they will come crawling to us, no doubt. Well, you know, they're pandering to the immigrants. Break up the duopoly. Green Party needs 5% of the vote to do this. Yeah, they're running reparations on there. It may not be perfect, but if we can get them 5%, they can be on all the ballots throughout the country the next election cycle. And we can be at the table for having helped them to achieve that 5% to make the necessary edits to the to their platform on reparations. Hassan says we must protect our vote. Go green at the top of the ticket. Democratic down ballot the rest of the way. If they are supporting a black agenda. Absolutely. This is a thing, family. We already discussed it. If you write in blank or ADOS, you run the risk of the whole entire ballot being thrown away. There's a lot of chicanery going on to suppress the black vote because they don't want us to have a voice. They're already kicking Green Party off of many ballots throughout the country. So, you know, understand the mission here is to gridlock government, to slow it down so we can get our demands met. Okay. Fear is a great motivator. Danny Arnold, fear is a great motivator. They've been using it against us since forever. Don't be scared, family. We can stand 4 more years of Trump. Absolutely. It's the rest of the country that's crying. We know what suffering is. We're all too familiar, and we're trying to break the back of this establishment. America, as we know it, must fall. It's not working for ADOS. We are at George Floyd 846. Tamara came in, and we thank her. Please support Tamara. Vote Tamara. Donate. Volunteer. Okay. Family, protect the ADOS. Vote. Go green, top a ticket. Okay. I'm moving on. Less than 6 weeks ago. Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Tamara. We love you for loving us. I can't say enough about you. I can't brag enough about you. Stephen Boykin, thank you for joining the live. Danny Arnold says he's donating again. Listen here, I donate monthly. I'm on a monthly give to this warrior queen, Tamara Johnson Shealy. And no, I'm not in Georgia. Can't vote for her, but I can help her get elected through my dollars. And so can you. You have to understand that her winning is a collective national win, because that will be our very first ADOS for ADOS that makes it to Congress. And that's on us to ensure that. So please don't, it's never mind that you can't vote for her. You can donate and you can phone bank for her. Okay, TamaraForGeorgia.com. Tanya Princess, thank you, my sister from another mister, for joining the live. You have 5% the Green Party. Voting Green Party guarantees your ADOS vote goes through the system and the Dems get crippled 100%. And that's what we're trying to do. We've got to do it. We've got to make this a success. I can hear Tansy very well. Thank you, ADOS Zanira. I just love him. He's got some amazing posts that I often share. That's your ISP. Your internet is slow, Angela. Well, it shouldn't be. I'm on high speed over here. Perhaps it will. I don't know how that can be. I've got Spectrum, and I'm connected to the Ethernet cable. Great show, Angela Nirvana. Very informative. Thank you, Tansy Flakes. Oh, you're so welcome, Danny. We love you, Black and Strong. Vicky, they removed the Green Party here in Texas. Yes, they did. I've been listening for 45 minutes, and I'm all the way in Ohio, and Tansy hasn't broken up or buffered once. And I've been to the store and everything while listening. Oh, thank you, ADOS Zanira. I appreciate you for that note. Perhaps it was my end. I don't understand what was going on. It was crazy. Castle Doctrine. Yes, we are not being protected by the Castle Doctrine. We got to stop this hemorrhaging. ADOS is they're on full assail attack of the ADOS, the lineage. And it's time for that to stop this election cycle. We've got to send a strong, strong message that we're not going to be the mules of the Democratic Party anymore. That's on us to do something different. Kunta says, America is being America. No surprise to me. They are protecting America. Black magic, stand your ground. That only applies to white folks, apparently. Kunta says, I learned my freshman year in college, all skin folk, not kinfolk. My freshman year at HBCU, they treated people from the North like crap. Yeah, they've mostly replaced us at the HBCUs with immigrants and, white folks. We're being replaced in our own institutions. Atiana, thank you for that correction. Okay. Hey, beautiful ladies. Hi, Chrissy. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. Let me hide it. Meritorious manumissions. That's it. I knew there was another word. Thank you, Mike Michelson. Meritorious manumissions is what Tansy was speaking to earlier about how blacks betray other blacks for the butter biscuits. Black magic. Thank you both, Angela and Tansy, for tonight. I have to get my libations ready. Yes, I don't know if I can tune into Yvette's show. They're on that Breonna Taylor and call-ins, and I'm already. I've cried myself, into a headache. I can't even take that show, so I'm going to pass. Breaking news, they shot 2 police officers in Kentucky. I can't wait to go read more about that. They'll run right by white folks and fight us. Hey, Angela, teach us, preach us. The blackboard. Beautiful top, sis. Oh, thank you, guys. I try to keep it, fresh and popping over here for you guys so you can have some nice eye candy to look at. I love the fashions, y'all. Y'all probably could tell. I like to get dressed. Not all the time. I will dress up a tank top. Do you hear me? But thank you for the compliment. Tansy, yes, ma'am. I donate monthly and I live in Maryland. Tansy is donating monthly. Oh, Tansy's still typing. Voting green is a punch in the eye to the Dems and GOP. Green up, vote down. Amen, family. And with that said, family, I just want to pray y'all out. I thank y'all so much for rolling with the sister for almost 2 hours, but it was a very important show. Tune in tomorrow. We'll do our next 2 presidents. And I'll probably be a lot more brief, but I usually try to pull from the things I post in Facebook to expound on it to let you know what I think, the way I see it. And I thank you guys for rolling with me tough and strong. Please share this video. It's action-packed, and our people need to be well informed. Thank you so much for joining the live. Thank you for your love, your support. I can't thank you enough. I don't even have enough words to express to you how much I love the ADOS movement and your support of my ADOS Hot Topics, Friends of ADOS TV show. I appreciate you more than I have the words to convey. And with that said, let me remind you of who you are before I let you go. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until tomorrow, family, you go out here and you act like you know who you are, and you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening until tomorrow, showtime, 6 o'clock. I love you, Black. I love you, strong. Deuces, peace, family.